everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are recording a very special video. This is reacting to your guitar builds part 2. So over on Instagram we asked for submissions. So many of you sent in your amazing guitars, and this episode is going to be very special because I promised a very handsome, wonderful guest. Unfortunately, I couldn't get that guest, but we do have Mr. Tony Polecastro.
Thank you so much, Tom. Really happy to be here, and I'm glad to be second call when it comes to handsome and wonderful.
Well, so you're actually like a bit further down the list than that. But anyway, I'm very grateful.
Maybe the hairiest guest on
Maybe
your
the hairiest.
potential list?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Yeah,
thanks.
we'll go.
No,
we'll go.
I do appreciate being here. This is awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. I know that you've got a lot queued up for us, so I'm just ready to dig in.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. I've been looking forward to this for weeks, so I'm really excited to get into this. So without further ado, let's get into our first guitar, and I'm gonna let you go first.
You're gonna let me go first?
I'm gonna let you go first. You know, you're the special guest.
Okay. So well, let me queue up my first guitar here. Now this one, the first one here comes from Matt Stevens at Lineage Guitars. He says he's been dabbling in luthiery since 2020, but has been full-time since August 2023. And this guitar just struck me immediately. You know, first of all, Matt looks like a really swell chap. He's smiling, and I love it. But this guitar immediately gave me the Jerry Garcia vibes, his kind of wolf guitar, but it's not. What I loved about this guitar is it's not a direct copy. It has the vibes. It clearly has the tonal options, but it's his take on it. And to be honest with you, in terms of wood choice, I'm floored at the top. And then when I saw the picture of the back with the neck, I was like, I'm in. I got all hot and flustered when I saw the neck. In terms of its possibilities, I'm floored. I don't know if I would know what to do with all those switches, but it sounds great, and I'm just stoked that this is a take on Jerry Garcia's Wolf.
Yeah, it's awesome. Should we give it a little listen?
Yeah, let's give it a listen.
Neck pickup. Neck pickup split. Neck pickup split and boosted. Bridge pickup. Bridge pickup split. Bridge pickup split and boosted. Middle pickup. It's my favorite setting.
I think that's my favorite setting too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of lost it, but anyway, you get the idea. It's fun sounds, lots of options, and it's buffered output, so you have the low impedance from the pickups, easy for long cable runs. If you have a lot of pedals, it all works out really well, and it's got nice exotic woods. Really fun guitar. It's my first build.
Whoa! What?
Oh, no way.
What?
This is
Oh,
okay.
he just casually throws that in at the end. Come on.
Let me give you a couple more details because I kind of reserved these because I didn't want to get too nerdy on it because to be honest, electronics is a little above my pay grade, but I certainly can appreciate the sound that he's getting. And I would say that mid position is my favorite as well. It's kind of crystally, but it has some body. It's not all bite. But clearly it can bite if you dig in. So in terms of the pickups, he's got a Lawler Firebird pickup on the neck. He's got a Lawler PAF in the bridge. And check this out. For the middle pickup, he split a DiMarzio Super 2 humbucker. He took half of it and used it in the middle.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Neither do I, but in my head, it's like mad scientist kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
It's almost Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But talk about a desert island instrument. I mean, if it sounds like you can go telly brittle if you want to. You can go fat and creamy. You can also just ride that middle pickup and just kind of seems like an all-purpose setting. I don't know. I'm blown away. I'm really blown away. I did not know this was his first build, by the way. That is news to me.
Cool. Let's go on to my first choice. All the way from Australia. This is John at J.Parsons Guitars. So he's been building for about 10 years, and it's kind of a part-time thing. He's also a wedding videographer and a fantastic photographer. So this guitar is a departure from his normal styling. He had a lot of fun with it. It's a culmination of mistakes that started with the neck getting damaged during the routing process. Dude, I feel you, I've been there. Leaving a big chip in the headstock veneer. But after discovering the figured top he was resawing had a big knot in it as well, he was inspired to start a build with the kintsugi repair approach, which is, do you know about kintsugi? The Japanese process of, if something's damaged, you make it beautiful and make it part of the character of the object. Yeah. Usually with, adding gilding, gold leaf, this kind of thing. And that's what John has done here. So we've got, the big knot in the, I think, is that Tassie Blackwood, Australian Blackwood for the top. He's kind of filled that with gold leaf. And similarly on the headstock, which I absolutely love that. When I first saw it, the headstock, I thought that was an intentional little kind of V-carve that he'd put in there, which I really loved. So I've been actually following John's work for a number of years now, and I've always really, really liked it. So yeah, he's doing some good stuff. Let's give this one a little listen.
Spanky.
Awesome. Man. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. What do you think?
So this builder's completely new to me. So I am floored. There's a couple of things that I really admire. First of all, just after hearing it, I really dig it. It's very different. It's almost I was going to compare it. I don't think it's worthy. I don't think the comparison would actually do it justice. So I'm going to take that back. I really dig the kind of the jangle and the kind of spank that he's pulling out of it. But I just want to go back to just his approach to building and kind of, in a way highlighting the flaws and making them beautiful. Because I can imagine as a builder, now I mean, I am the furthest thing from a builder, so I feel like I'm stepping into forbidden territory here. But, when something goes wrong, I feel like it's this like cold sweats, like, oh God, back to square one kind of a feeling. But, it's part of a process, being a handmade musical tool. And it is beautiful. Like you said, that headstock, I had to do a double take. So I'm looking at it and I thought it was a little notch cut in, just kind of a nice little accent, but it turns out it's a flaw. But the presentation of the guitar is beautiful. Can I talk about the pick guard tying into the control plate or the back plate cover? That's just flawless.
Yeah.
And it's such a subtle thing. It's not a fancy shape. It just it commands attention. And then when it flips over and that back plate matches, it's just, what a great tie-in. The body shape, I mean, I'm happy that you brought this to my attention, because I've never heard of his stuff, but I will very certainly be eagerly awaiting his next builds and checking out his site.
Yeah, he's a good one. Go ahead.
What drew you to this? I'm just curious from a luthier's perspective.
I think that it's always so difficult to come up with something new. Whether it's in the acoustic world or whether it's in the electric world, and I think, I don't know. I've been following his work for a long time, and it's always been something that stands out on my feed. Like, always stands out on my feed. I love the body shape is different without being, wild and wild and different, to be like, must stand out. It's elegant, it's beautifully proportioned. He's gone with some really nice tone woods. Really, really nicely constructed. I love the kintsugi approach. I think from a luthier's perspective, I've been there. When things go wrong, when you route through a neck, these things happen, and it takes a lot to pick yourself up from that kind of mistake, but also to then be like, I'm going to own this and I'm going to make it beautiful. And I think he's done a really beautiful job with it. And so, it was one of the first on my list for sure.
Hell yeah.
So, what's your next pick?
Number 2. This comes from Adam at Mear Guitars. As far as experience, he's been building 1 year, and he says at the moment it's a side gig for him, but his partner Nick, it's full time. He's inspired by luthier-made copies of golden era guitars. Tried to make instruments that have that vibe and sound of those gorgeous instruments, but without the 6-figure price tag and any of the structural issues that plague these beautiful, I'm thinking vintage instruments. I picked this one. Okay, first of all, I'm just a sucker for Martin copies, and I think I might be speaking out of turn here. I think it's probably easy to copy the shape and the look. I think it's probably far harder to copy the tone. Again, this is from a player's perspective. This is not from a builder's perspective, so I feel like I have to throw that caveat in there. But this OM that he's playing, I'm pretty sure it's an OM. It might be subtly smaller. Blew me away. I heard the sound clip before I even looked at the pictures, and let's listen to it first, and then we can dig into the tone.
Cool.
Okay. I think it's the playing that got me, to be honest. But he's bringing out such wonderful clarity in the guitar, and the bass is so supportive. And I think a lot of times golden era Martins can be just confused with just this huge booming bass that's overwhelming. And to the best of my knowledge, he's playing a new guitar, and I can kind of imagine that guitar in 5-10 years and how much more woodiness is brought out of it, because the clarity is there. I think this guitar is a wonderful example of a modern luthier paying homage to the golden era of, Martin, to be honest. I mean, it's striking. It's strikingly beautiful. I think it's hard to conjure up beauty in a design that's been copied and copied and copied and copied. I think he just did a great job. I'm floored by the instrument.
Yeah. So, interesting story. Okay. So I really wanted to include the Mear and Gray guitars on my shortlist, but I couldn't because I didn't want to be accused of nepotism. So full disclosure, Adam, who is playing the guitar here, was my very first client. Yeah. So Adam commissioned my very first guitar back in 2015 or so, and he's now working with Nick Mear, who built the guitars, and they're now producing guitars under the Mear and Gray banner, and like you say, wanting to do these faithful reproductions of the golden era Martins. And so Adam is a very dear friend of mine, and I'm slowly getting to know Nick as well, the luthier behind the builds. So when they submitted this, I'd not heard the guitar before, and honestly I wasn't sure what to expect, because as far as I know, Nick is self-taught, and built his first kind of few guitars on the kitchen table. Like many new luthiers do. But when I heard this, I'm familiar with Adam's playing, obviously because he's played my guitars. He's still a terrible player. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But listening to this, I too was blown away by the tone and the quality and the body of the tone, because it looks to me like this is this a mahogany guitar?
I would think it's Cermelli. This is more in your court than mine.
Yeah, it looks to be a mahogany of some kind.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of stunned when I heard the sound of this instrument, because it really is full-bodied, it's articulate, it's none of the things that I would typically associate with a mahogany guitar, and certainly not a guitar of that size. It's rich, it's got loads of overtone, content going on there, but it's really nicely balanced. And it's just super impressed with this, and it looks beautifully made as well.
Yeah, I'm floored by the grain spacing on the top. In fact, I want to say he submitted a picture with a ruler on it, and the grain lines are just like they're 10 miles apart. There's like
Oh, really?
It's just it's crazy. I think it's really hard. I think in general it's really hard to stand out in this arena of guitar making. Yeah. I think this guitar definitely does stand out. I think it's a really strong instrument, and like you said, not what I expected from a mahogany OM.
No.
Beautiful, just beautiful work. Great playing, beautiful work.
All right, so this is a guitar which I know is on your shortlist as well. This is from Loïc Borteau, Bouchereau Guitars. Bouchereau Guitars? Yeah.
Sounds right.
Sounds right, yeah. So based in Canada, Loïc has been building mostly full-time since 2014. This is his Mistral model, which is an OM style guitar. and he's been developing this guitar since the beginning of his career. This particular instrument is Sinker Redwood over Madagascar Rosewood, 12 frets to the body, which I love. Very responsive and rich sounding guitar. He's a proponent of modern constructional techniques, but also pays homage to traditional techniques as well. So yeah, I mean, come on, this guitar is it's a beauty. One thing that we were talking a little bit before, one thing that I absolutely love about Loic's guitars is that he's clearly an immensely talented woodworker, but his design sense is super elegant, and his woodworking chops are deployed all in service of the elegance of the instrument. There's no kind of ostentatious, what I would refer to as all flash and no smash. It's all focus on the beautiful details. Things that really stick out for me are the bridge design. It's beautifully carved. We've got just a subtle amount of kind of recarve on there, which is just a delicate touch that I just really, really love. The proportions of the body, the lines, perfect. And I know that the sound hole is an area that you wanted to talk about, Tony.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, and this is on any guitar, I'm always drawn to where the fingerboard comes into the body and how it intersects with the sound hole. It's like if I was to pick one part of a guitar that was my favorite part to look at visually, that to me is it. And this guitar, I now have a new standard for measuring all other sound hole, body, fingerboard joints. I have this new standard because this is simply breathtaking for so many reasons. And I think the first thing that sticks out is just how the lines effortlessly flow, and it seems very harmonious in terms of the sound hole rosette is kind of a spiral that rotates into that, I don't know if you call that fingerboard purfling, and then it kind of continues on. Yeah. And that to me is just it seems like such a small, tiny thing, but I have such great appreciation for the tie-in of that rosette and the fingerboard extension in such a way that makes it just flow effortlessly. It's just drawing my attention inside the guitar. Yeah. And I just, to me, it's the highlight of this instrument. Without having heard it,
I think this particular design element speaks of the guitar as it's like a microcosm, or it speaks of the guitar as a whole. You're talking about the lines of the rosette and the sound hole, and just how hard that is to get those lines to intersect in a way that is harmonious and is kind of organic. It reminds me of you use the word spiral, it kind of reminds me of a nautilus shell, something like that. I love the very, very subtle, almost fade, sunburst kind of fade of the rosette, using the natural colours of the timber to kind of go from this lighter hue up at the player's side of the rosette all the way down to this really kind of deep dark chocolate down at the bottom here as well, and the subtle use of the sapwood. Yeah,
and beautiful. I thought initially that sapwood piece was actually inlaid from a distance, and then upon getting into the zoomed in picture, it's like that's actually a part of the natural wood that is very intentional. And I think I want to almost back up and say, had this rosette been completely circular, I think it would also look stunning. But the fact that it has this spiral motif to it, it elevates it tenfold, in my opinion. And it seems like such a tiny little thing, but to me, it has such an enormous visual impact. Not to mention something that I don't think should be overlooked. The top on this guitar is beautiful.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It is a stunning really piece of wood.
Yeah.
It's like a holographic...
I love redwood, and this is so beautifully quarter sawn. It's covered in medullary ray fleck. Great colour. Love it. Let's give this guy a listen. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you've got that's obviously the video quality is not like high level.
Sure.
That's probably a phone video. Having that much come through on a phone video to me says a lot about the instrument. When you get a sense of this kind of all encompassing wide tonal range from phone video, I cannot imagine what it would be like to be in the same room sitting across from somebody playing that instrument. I get this vast array of dynamic that I can't really, I don't know if I really have the right words to explain it, but it seems as though from bass to treble, there's full representation, but it's not cloudy. It's not murky. It's very, each string speaks very clearly, which I don't know if that's a difficult feat with this tone wood combination, but whatever the case may be, execution was phenomenal in terms from a tonal standpoint, in my opinion, from a player standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you've used the word expansive before, and I think for me, it's got that real modern sound that I love. It's very open. Yeah, I mean, adjectives are always hard to describe tone, but it's woody, but it's clean and it's crisp, it's sweet. It's got good overtone content, good body to the notes. Absolutely love it. Loic is a real favorite of mine.
Next up for me, Julien Sublet. Did I get that right?
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I'm going with. He's been building for 10 years. He says it's a full-time thingy, I would say, after seeing this guitar. This guitar was made as a pair with a tenor ukulele. It features brass inlays in the rosette, back inlay linings, and bridge pins. Spent many hours inlaying and even more sharpening. This guitar just reads pure class to me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was also on my list.
I just immediately when I saw this was on my list. Now that's to say there was also 15 other guitars on my list, but this was one that really stood out and I kept coming back to. This was one that I kept coming back to and saying this needs to be on the list, plain and simple. It is pure class. And from wood selection, I mean, we've got this nice pale, bright white maple with this very pale top. And then the subtlety of the top inlay and it being Art Deco-y, I'm a little scared to use that term, asymmetrical, and then that kind of nod to it on the back inlay, and then the asymmetry of the headstock. I just am absolutely in love with this instrument. I think it reads class. I love the shape of the body. I love the kind of the squat upper bout. I think that's a really cool touch. And it matches just the vibe. I think it's a full package. It's the full meal deal. Supersized with extra fries. It's just, I feel I can't use a McDonald's reference with this guitar. I think it's like it's horrible. I just compared an elegant guitar to a supersized fries, but yeah, I'm 100% floored. I think it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I agree. It was on my long list, my short list, and I'm glad that you picked it. It's very elegant. Building guitars from maple when they're all white, everything is everything is 10 times harder, you know, because everything has to be super clean. There's no room for error. You can't really hide anything when it comes to maple. If you've got gappy joints or anything like this, it can really destroy the look of a guitar. And this is just super clean. So let's give it a listen.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, just as good as it looks, the sound matches 100%. It's so composed. The bass has got this crystalline, full-bodiedness, which it's just not mushy at all. There's nothing that runs into each other in a negative way. Everything's very supportive. It just has it speaks so clearly. It's very articulate.
Composed. I like that. That's a nice adjective.
And just
all right, before you make another irresponsible purchase, let's keep this moving. So this is Matthias Meyer of Sina Guitars. He's been building 4 years part-time, and this is one of the first projects he developed. It started as an idea for a Jetsons guitar, and then in the research for it, he got into retro futuristic aesthetics. It does have some clear references to traditional models, but with a Jetsons twist. This one I made for the Great British Bake Off there. I mean, maybe I made it for that too. The Great Guitar Build Off 2022. And he recorded the whole process, which you can find at the Sina Guitars on YouTube.
He gets a handshake for this one.
He does, yeah. He gets a Hollywood handshake.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'd only read the blurb like just prior to recording this, and you know, the first time when I looked at this guitar, one of the reasons I picked it was because it has that Jetsons vibe. I was like, this could easily be on the Jetsons. Mm-hmm. You know, I love mid-century modern design, and this just has it in spades. You know, right down to the kind of colours, the kind of font that's used for the logo. You know, it looks like it came off an old Wurlitzer jukebox. One thing that I just absolutely adore is the joint here between how the neck flows into the body. You know, it's a bolt-on guitar, but there's just something so satisfying about that. I absolutely. You can see what I'm looking at. Right?
Absolutely, it reminds me of one of those mid-century modern couches.
Exactly.
I want to snuggle up in there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's just so nice. I love that, and there's like a subtle sparkle in the paintwork. Yeah, killer.
I love the shape of the pickguard. and the cutout for the volume. It's very tiny, but it's just it's beautiful because it kind
look how it's off-centered too. So,
yeah.
You know, so as the volume increases, the gap between the knob and the pickguard increases too, which I think that is just a lovely little detail.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. I just love that. It's so considered. Yeah, perfect. Oh, nice.
I just noticed the contour around the top.
Yeah.
You don't get that from the photos, but damn, that's beautiful. You know, I think, I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, there's so many things I want to say about this. One thing that I absolutely love, and I think actually might be my favourite part of the guitar, is the headstock. I think headstocks are notoriously hard to get right on any guitar. And so when I see one that works, like, it just stands out so nicely. And I just think that this has just got beautiful mid-century modern lines. Proportionally, it's wonderful, and I think the sound is awesome. Clean,
super clean, and I just know that, like, he's playing this, you know, really gentle, soft kind of neo soul thing, but you just know that, like, this guitar absolutely rips. Like,
You read my mind. You read my mind. I'm like, man, I bet you this guitar screams so hard.
Yeah. I mean, he's wearing a Ramones t-shirt, and I imagine that is not a coincidence. Like, I know that this just, gets turned up to 11 and absolutely screams.
What restraint? The offset fret markers too?
Yeah.
I love that.
Very, very, very cool. I think this is, let me know when you build a bass, bro, because I'm all over this. I love it. Right,
Tony and Tom's shopping list.
I know. It's terrible. All right, let's move on to your fifth pick.
All right, so this comes from fourth. Man, this comes from Joe Vercoe at Redfern Instruments. He's been learning for 4 years, 6 months in business. This guitar has a violin-style construction, flamed English walnut, purfling, and an overhang. Solid adjustable bridge via wedges. Round sound hole allows the plate to be thinned past what's normal on an F-hold archtop, a la Ken Parker. This guitar struck me first because of its shape and this kind of archtop, round sound hole vibe. I really like that. I kind of got these initial, like, old Gibson style guitar vibes. Then I saw the overhang secondarily and was just infatuated with it because it's I'm assuming it's from the violin, arena of building. Just what a wonderful concept. And then the bridge. This is funny because when I worked at Weber Mandolins, we had a guy that developed a bridge called, his name was Vern Brecky. He developed this bridge called the Brecky Bridge, and the height was adjustable with wedges, so you could actually adjust it under tension. And this gave me the same vibe. And I thought, hell yeah, to see this on an arch top and just, I think from a usability from the player's standpoint perspective, that's a small feature that should not go unnoticed. But just the overall package, this feels like, an old Gibson oval hole arch top got, set in a time machine and just pushed forward and kept all the good stuff from what the Gibson was, but then had all these wonderful modern appointments added to it that just make it that much more usable, that much more friendly. It seems like a very, it's funny because we're not talking heavy inlay here. We're not talking anything like that, but it just seems very complex, even though simple. And I have a great appreciation for that because I cannot even imagine how you do the top and the back with those overhangs. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if I have the stomach to even handle it, Just
I love the bridge. I love the bridge is beautiful.
Yeah, the tailpiece is stunning too. I don't think there's anything on this guitar that was not fully thought through. The slotted headstock, it almost has a gypsy jazz vibe on the headstock.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
I'm stoked. Let's give it a listen.
Yeah, this was on my list too, so I'm glad that you picked it. Isn't that a sweet sounding guitar?
It's just sweet, but it's got some snarl to it. It's got some cut. Not it. I don't know how you maintain the balance between it being so sweet and wonderful, but still, that there's a junkyard dog in there. You just know. I mean, that's the vibe I get, and I feel like it's got this wonderful dry presence. Balanced out by probably the sound, the round sound hole. Real sexy little beast there.
Okay, so this is a really unique guitar. It comes from Jacob Frank at Canna Guitars. He's been building around 7 years. And yeah, this guitar is, let me see if I can distill his blurb here.
This was on my list too, by the way.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's see what he says here. So the thing about these guitars is the back and sides is, well, it's just a back. It's this kind of bowl back construction made from hemp stone, which is like a composite hemp fiber molded situation, which is cool in it to begin with. The top. So the top isn't carved, it's laminated in my usual double top fashion using a Nomex honeycomb layer between two 1mm spruce plates. So the top is super light. Furthermore, the fibres are following the curve and aren't cut, which should, in theory, give a better stiffness to weight ratio. The tailpiece is hand carved from a solid piece of brass and is inspired once again by Ken Parker. He gets so many props in this video. The plumb bridge is hollowed out in the middle. The humbucker, which is a Harry Housel flat jazz, is mounted on 2 rails, which allows it to slide in and out. The guitar also features a grooved area where the guitar lays on the player's lap to provide more grip. Yeah, I mean, this guitar is so unique. I've been following Canna Guitars for quite a while on Instagram, and I just, yeah, we talk about organic lines. This guitar is so organic and fascinating.
It really is. Your eye is just drawn everywhere, all at once. It's like chameleon eyes. I feel like I got.
It's hard to know where to start with it, right?
I keep going to the hempstone back, and I keep thinking, I'm like, is that like hippie carbon fiber?
I guess so. A little bit.
I have no
is
familiarity.
So cool. The hippie carbon fiber, that's fantastic. This detail is so clever and so cool. How he's got the grooved. Do you see that? So that it doesn't slip on the lap, because otherwise, with this being a ball back, it perhaps would. But I love this organic shape, this kind of I don't know, like pear-shaped body.
Yeah.
And beautiful tailpiece. The Ken Parker style tailpiece that kind of rests on this ball here. Wonderful. Let's give it a little listen.
Yeah.
Super unique sound.
I'm infatuated by it. I feel like I needed to double back and say that I used the term hippie carbon fiber, not in a negative way.
Dude, it's too late. I can already see the comment section just absolutely flaring up. You've been cancelled. Tony Polecastro gets cancelled.
I really didn't mean it in a negative way. Yeah. I'm looking at this guitar and I have great appreciation for the end result. I think I have even more appreciation for the conceptualization of it.
Me too, big time.
Because I don't know of anything like this. So to me, to be able to conceptualize, execute, and have a result that's as beautiful sounding and looking as this, that is a feat. That's a mythological feat in my mind. Again, not from the builder's standpoint. And there's so much here from the back material that I knew nothing about, to the way that the top was actually laminated and not carved, to the honeycomb, to the kind of that sandwich top. I would venture to bet this guitar is light as a feather.
Does it mention how light it is? I know he says the top is super light. The thing for me, so let's. What did you think to the sound? Because this is, I think, the most unique sounding guitar on the list.
Yeah, I can't say I've heard anything like it. It had this, it had elements of a nylon string guitar that I didn't expect at all. Mm-hmm. But it's not, but it has these elements, and I don't know what the scale length, maybe it has something to do with the scale length. I'm kind of left confused, like question marks just spinning around my head right now.
Yeah, to me, it is, unique is the only word that I can put to it. It doesn't have, you look at it and it's clearly, a jazz guitar, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like an arch top.
No.
At all. It's incredibly resonant sounding. You can hear the air inside that instrument.
Yeah.
It's it's definitely not going to be to everybody's taste, I don't think. There's maybe it's its own thing. And I think that it could be a really creative tool for any musician. Okay, so let's get into your, what is this, your final choice?
Indeed. This is a guitar I've been following this guitar for a while.
Yes.
This guitar comes from Tyler Robbins at Robbins Acoustic. He's been building for 18 years, 8 of them as a hobby and 10 as a full-time gig. And I've got to read the information and description about this, because I did not know this going into it. And I think, to me, all of a sudden, some dots that I didn't connect, all of a sudden they connected and it made sense. This was a special build for one of Salvador Dali's apprentices, Louis Marcoya. His art style is really wild, so it was only fitting that we went a bit crazy, and not only with the design, but the wood selection as well. This African blackwood burl set seemed to fit right in with his trippy, chaotic, ethereal style. It might be too much for some, but it suits Louis, I'm going to go with Louis, perfectly, and allowed me to challenge myself a bit, or a lot. It features an Italian spruce top, koa bindings and accents, red maple purfling, and an assortment of pearl resin and dyed burl inlays. This made sense immediately when I read that, because at first I've been following this guitar for a good long time, seeing some of the inlay on Instagram. He's posted some progress pics and things like that, and I think way back, I think in the Acoustic Tuesday show, I featured that cicada portion, because he either did a process post of him cutting out the pieces and kind of placing them, but then when the whole Salvador Dali apprentice piece came in, I was like, oh, totally, we're in. We're locked in here. This guitar is mind-blowingly stunning. I think this is some of the craziest inlay work I've ever seen, both in placement and in execution. Materials-wise, very organic. I just I still have so many questions. The top inlay around the sound hole is so beautiful, because it kind of breaks that round sound hole tradition. I don't know if that's a tradition, but I love that. I love how the fingerboard end extension, whatever you want to call it, kind of flows down. I love how he tucked in a little sound port on that front bevel. He's got the arm bevel. The back is gorgeous. Again, asymmetrical, but very conscious and acknowledging the body lines with the inlay.
Yes. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm speechless. The bevels on the back, it has your eyes go in 100 different places, but not in a oh my gosh, I can't handle this, in a way that reflects who he made it for. And I think that's another set of dots that I needed to connect, because it's here we have this apprentice of Salvador Dali's, he describes his artwork as trippy, chaotic, ethereal. That's exactly what I get from the instrument. Yeah. I mean, 100% without a doubt. I'm curious of your thoughts, Tom, because looking at it through the builder's eye, first of all, I can't even fathom what it was like to conceptualize and execute this. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think you did a really wonderful job of summarizing this guitar, because I have a lot of thoughts about this guitar, a lot, and I'll try to be as articulate and concise as you. I think first and foremost, the context to this instrument is really important, because I think without the context, it could be viewed as a little bit over the top, perhaps. And I think Tyler is aware of this too. He says in his little blurb here that he realizes that it might not be for everyone, and I think that's important. I think that so the context of the guitar, it immediately, as you said, starts to make sense, and that kind of grounds the instrument. It means that the inlays are purposeful, as opposed to flashy for the sake of being flashy, which without that context, you could perhaps assume that about the instrument, and that wouldn't be a fair assessment. So I think it's worth saying that. From again, from and my other thoughts about this, from an execution point of view, it's absolutely flawless. And I know that Tyler won't mind me saying this because I know that he gets flack for this. You know, people will say, oh, well, you know, it's all done with a CNC machine. It's like, well, perhaps. However, having dabbled in CNC work and having dabbled in, you know, what it takes to program a machine, run the machine, place all the materials, get all your cuts absolutely perfect so that everything works, that in itself requires an immense amount of skill. And you know, the use of CNC here is done really well, and I think, you know, the use of a CNC machine is just, you know, using a tool like any other. So, you know, that side of things I really appreciate. Let's crawl out of his backside and give this guitar a listen.
Let's do.
What do you think?
Go ahead. I got nothing. I don't have a damn thing. Go ahead, please. Just give me a second, please.
Yeah, I mean, come on. There's a reason that you know, Tyler is one of the most highly regarded young builders out there at the moment. Not only is he building a phenomenally well-crafted instrument, but the sound more than backs it up. You know, yeah. First of all, props to Dustin Furlow for a great demo. Fantastic player.
Yeah.
Played that guitar really sensitively and really brought out all of the nuance and character of that guitar. Super well balanced, powerful bass without being muddy, bright, clear, crystal, sparkly trebles. Still feels like a new guitar to me.
Yeah.
But with it sounding as it does there, as a new guitar, you know, what is that thing going to sound like a year down the road when it's kind of opened up and blooms? And yeah, can't say enough good things about it.
Can we just take a second and just rewind? I assume that this could be relatively noisy because we've just sung the praises of all these instruments. But what a freaking world we're in. Like, you know, we've gone through, I think, 9 at this point, and I've been just socks blown off the whole time. I got no socks left. My whole sock drawer is empty. And I'm not even, I want to be clear. Like, I came into this choosing guitars that I liked. Yeah, I'm going to like the sound of them. But there's a lot of these that I didn't hear before we pressed record here.
Okay. Yeah.
What a time. What a freaking time.
Yeah.
To have just this much dedication to the craft and making instruments that sound like this. This is one of the ones I had not heard before we started. This was based purely on looks. I did not pick this guitar based on sound. because I almost felt like it was secondary, and I feel like I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, it's okay. I'm sure you can be forgiven, especially after all the plaudits you've been heaping on this guitar.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add in terms of sound of this guitar. I've just really floored. I'm stunned. I just hats off to Tyler for this creation.
All right, so number 5 is something very, very different. And this guitar comes from Anna Cermelli at Mear Guitars. She says, I have started building my first handmade instrument 3 years ago when she was 18. I'm currently in the phase of attempting to turn my passion for guitar making into her job. So for her submission is an electric guitar inspired by the architecture of Gaudi. The pickup frames, for example, are inspired by some of the window frames in Gaudi's buildings. Some stained glass cavities are also present in the guitar body. Moreover, in the glass cavities, there are some LED lights that interact with the sound of the guitar, and a set of lights light up when playing the low notes, and another set for the high notes. So this guitar really kind of caught my attention. And I love the Gaudi inspired aesthetic. I think she's done a great job with it. It's very playful, proportionally. I really dig it. But one thing that I really, really like, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this super clearly on the photos. Yeah, on the back of the headstock. I really love the textural elements that she's got going on here. That's kind of carved out, gouged out to give this. I just love that texture. It's very reminiscent of some of the things that you see in Gaudi's buildings. It reminds me of some of the doors at the Goetheanum in Switzerland. I love that. I really, really like that. I love this stained glass thing that's going on with some of the colours there. Yeah. This
was actually, I believe this was on my list as well. For the soul, well, for a lot of reasons, but the one that stands out the most to me is I love it when you can take something so far outside the guitar world, and use that as an inspiration to build a guitar, especially in the electric guitar world.
Yeah. Because
I feel like it's so easy to get stuck in the rut, the trench that has been dug, and to just kind of say, no, I'm going to take this road, which is going way, a totally different direction, and just to create something unique and inspired. I love it. I love it. It makes my eye wander around the whole thing. It's not over the top crazy. I also the texture on the back. At first, I was like, "Is that lacewood?" And then looking at the picture in more detail, I'm like, "No, it's actually like it has texture. It's got a kind of a rougher texture, which is just one of those subtle little details where you're like, that is just a wonderful nod." When you said the doors, now I've never seen this stuff in person, but when you said it reminds you of the door, is it the doors to some?
Well, it's not a Gaudi building, but it's a similar building in Switzerland by a different architect. But it's a similar thing, which perhaps they picked up from Gaudi. Go ahead.
It's just a cool little touch and something that I haven't necessarily seen, and that's really refreshing to me. It's extremely refreshing to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
How cool is that? Imagine this like on stage and this been like played just like in complete darkness with those little stained glass lights going on.
It's so cool because I guess what I'm seeing is that the one in the upper bow, they're not all on the same. circuit frequency. I don't know how it works, but it's not all on, all off. They kind of have a little bit of
Like
differentiation to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. And a great song choice as well.
And it's got, you know, it's kind of a dark sounding, kind of creamy, thick, honey sounding guitar.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
Good,
I
good
love
choice.
I love how playful this guitar is, and just how, yeah, I love it. Do you have any more?
I have no more.
We have no more. Okay, well, there is a bonus one that I wanted to chuck in. There isn't a video that goes with this, but I think the concept of this guitar is I really wanted to talk about this. So this is an electric guitar from Omer Deutsch of OD Guitars, who's been building for 8 years. And I first saw Omer's guitars at the Holy Grail Guitar Show back in 2018, I think. And this is a guitar that has used AI as a design tool.
Holy!
Have you seen this?
No.
So basically, Omer's been playing around with Midjourney, you know, the AI tool for creating wild and wondrous images based off of prompts. And so this guitar, as I understand it, the concept is, you know, combining his love of nature with his love of technology and where technology can take us in a creative way that isn't, you know, terrifying. And so his Midjourney concepts, I guess these were the concepts that were developed by the AI engine Midjourney. And then he has gone about crafting a guitar based off of the Midjourney renders. And I believe that this was showcased at NAMM back in January there. But I just
This is
love
insane. This is insane. This is the coolest damn thing I've ever seen.
And it's functional too. But this is like live ferns. Yeah.
Did you see the truss rod cover?
Let's see where we. Oh wow! Look at that.
That's incredible.
Is that like yeah? Oh, that is super cool, isn't it? There's if you go on Omer's website, there's some really good video of his process and of him in his workshop, and there's a whole backstory associated with this guitar that's really worth checking out. So yeah, nice little bonus piece of content there for you at the end of our little rundown of our top 5 favorite guitars.
I love it. AI gets a lot of flack. But I mean, that's so cool. What a great concept.
Yeah.
To like have it be an actionable thing, not just something you post on social media that says, "Oh, isn't this crazy or neat?" Like to actually take it as an inspiration and then execute.
Can you see that the plants are actually coming out of the of the cavities in the guitar? It's kind of like nature taking over, like a rewilding of the guitar. I absolutely love that.
It's crazy to me because I look at the actual picture of the instrument and there's a piece of my brain that's like, wait, is that the AI? Wait, is that the real one or is that not? And I think that's a huge nod to him actually creating it from AI to almost question what you're seeing. That's fascinating, man.
Well, listen, this was a fun video. I feel like this is a kind of real adventure through so many different builders, so many different styles. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much, Tony, for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a part 3, because let me tell you, the submissions box was vast and expansive, and we had a real hard time whittling down our kind of favorites. So thank you so much for everybody who took the time to enter. If we do a part 3, which we're going to do a part 3, your submissions will be counted because there's so many that we wanted to include that we really couldn't. So let me know in the comments which guitars you really loved, why you liked them, and that's it. So until next time, We'll see ya.